Stephanie M. Seaton, author, publishing. Publishing with passion. There is power in your story. Promote your literary dream with Stephanie M. Seaton, author, publishing company. Our basic packages start at only $1,879, offering tailored services for children's books, illustrations, novels, workbooks, textbooks, memoirs, and more. Let us make your dream a reality. Afterpay is available. If you're interested in getting started with Stephanie M. Seaton, author, publishing, send an email to Stephanie M. Seaton, the author, at gmail.com. Rho Alpha Tau East Texas Chapter, rhoalphatau.com. His work, Our Hands, Christ and Community.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon, with your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton. If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor at gmail.com.
Well, hello, and welcome tonight. We have an amazing guest here in the house. We have none other than Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Listen, it's closer to bedtime. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Rhonda and I were just talking about all these jobs we have and the passion that we have for writing. You know, when you still work a full time, but you still at the end of the day do your passion. I mean, it's nothing like it, right? Literary conversations, publishing. We've got a lot of things in common, and we're going to talk tonight about all things Dr. Rhonda. So glad to have you. For all of you that are tuning in, go ahead and grab your popcorn, whatever you need to relax, and get ready to like, tag, and share for this interview because it's going to be a lot of good information.
Yes.
I'm also going to put some contact information up for Dr. Rhonda here in just a moment. So no matter when you watch the interview, you'll be able to go back to her contact information if you want to contact her. So, okay. I had the pleasure of being on Dr. Rhonda's show just a couple months ago. And we actually met almost a year ago. Time went by fast, didn't it?
Time flies. This whole year has flown by.
So I had the pleasure of being on her show. I really enjoyed it. She gave me an opportunity to really talk about my brand, and I'm just happy to extend that same courtesy. And she's got some amazing things going on. When I met her last year, she had so many people at her table. I just kind of circled back. She's a busy lady. And so we finally connected and we're making it happen.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you the very first question that I ask all of my guests, please tell us, who is Dr. Rhonda Lawson?
Well, all right. My name is Dr. Rhonda Lawson. I am a 24-time published author, as well as the owner of Meet the World Image Solutions, which is a publicity and literary services company based here in the DMV. Thank you for putting my information up.
I got you.
I see. So I'm an Army veteran. I'm a mother, and I'm a hard worker. I probably work a little bit too much, but I absolutely love what I do. And I feel like it's my purpose, to not only give authors a platform, but to help authors who are serious about the art of writing to improve their craft. So not only do I do the podcast, but I also enjoy teaching writing classes, helping authors to hone their craft, to get better at what they do, and then to also network with each other, because this can be a very solitary industry, because you're always inside writing or promoting your book, and you don't. This is so much of a great experience when you get to meet other authors and you get to work with them and get to know them and learn from them. I remember one time I had a friend who, she was working on her book, I was working on my book. We said, let's just meet at Starbucks and just write. We didn't have to talk to each other, but just being there with each other, her working on her project, me working on mine, it gave us that extra push to get our work done. And we got a lot of pages written that day.
You felt supported, didn't you?
Right. I mean, you feel supported, and then you also feel like you're with another like-minded person, somebody who's not going to be able to, who's not trying to pull you from your purpose, but is actually pouring into your purpose. I had another friend when I was working on my doctorate. He knew that he was working on his dissertation, and I was working on my dissertation, and we were both burned out. And he called me one day. He said, let's just support each other. I'll call you, check on you. You call and check on me. And that was the way, I really believe that's the way I was able to get through my dissertation, because I had that accountability partner. So I think that's something that we have to, we need to embrace. When you have somebody who's trying to keep you accountable, who's trying to support you, many times that's what keeps you going.
I love that. You know, that it's eye-opening, because a lot of times I am definitely, you know, in a room by myself, just me and my computer, writing. And how awesome would that be for me to go somewhere where I could partner with somebody? Like you said, even if they don't say anything, just knowing that they're and they understand, because I often have people telling me, you need to take a break from writing. And it's like, you don't understand, you know? Yeah. When writing is your passion, you are constant, your brain is constantly going. Everything is, could that be a book? Could that be a book?
Yes.
Well, I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this. Kind of break it down a little bit. I know you talked about several different things that you offer. Kind of break it down a little bit more on what exactly is Meet the World Image Solutions. Kind of break it down for those that are wondering.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, Meet the World Image Solutions is a publicity and literary services company. So basically I have two arms to my company. The first arm is the literary side. This is my first love. And it's not what I planned on Meet the World Image Solutions to be, but I had to go back to my first love, which is writing. Right. Yeah. So on the literary side, I do editing, ghostwriting, I do book coaching, and as I mentioned, I teach writers' workshops. So I also have a publishing part of literary's end. And with the publishing, I'm not a regular publisher per se, but what I offer is a done for you service. Maybe let's say, Stephanie, you wanted to write a book and you wanted to get it published. You didn't necessarily want to have your own company. You just want to get your book published. Right. I would do everything for you. I do the editing. I'd help you with your book cover. I'd give you an ISBN. I do everything that you need to get your book out there. And then once we get it published and uploaded, I turn it all over to you. So you're still a self-published author, but there are people who don't exactly know what to do to publish their own book. And they can watch a bunch of YouTube videos, which will take a lot of time, or you can turn it over to somebody else who can do it for you and then turn it back over to you. I collect no royalties on anyone's books. Yeah. All I do is help you to get your book into the world. So that's my publishing side of it. Now, then I have the publicity side, which is where I have the podcast, which is Horizons with, the Horizons Author Lounge with Meet the World Image Solutions. And I also do press releases and I create author events. So, and then I offer a VIP marketing plan for authors. You know, let's say you have your book and you just want to a little bit more publicity. I specialize not just in posting your book to social media, which is great, and I do help you with that, but I like to get you in front of media. So my public affairs officer, I was a public affairs officer in the Army, and I'm also a public affairs officer for the federal government. So my background and my specialty is getting you in front of media. So what I like to do is I'll take my talents, my marketing talents, and I will not only put you on social media, but I also write press releases. I also write articles for major platforms like Medium and Substack and Newsbreak. And I'll put your articles there. And what that does for you is it gives you publicity,
Right.
it gives you exposure, but it also gives you backlinks. So when you are creating your media kits, which I create as well, media kits and one sheets, you can put links to your articles on there. And what it does is it gives people proof of concept. Right. So you do want to market yourself to a big news show or a big talk show, and you give them your one sheet, you now have links to actual interviews and news stories about you, which shows that you are who you say you are. Right. So
credibility.
Exactly. It builds credibility. So that's where my VIP marketing program works. And I have different stages. I have the base, of course, then I have that the mid VIP package, and then I have the higher tier VIP package. And each of those packages just gives you a little bit more exposure.
Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. For all of the authors that are watching, there were many, many services that I know should have caught your attention. So again, I do have her contact information. I'm going to put that on the screen again in the comment section. And again, no matter what time you watch the interview, you'll be able to click on those links and hit her up so you can kind of see what she's got going on. Well, let's get to know a little bit more about you. Let's see here. What was your family like growing up? Were you an only child? I know you after graduation or so, you went to the military. I know you served in the Army, a soldier and a journalist at the same time. And I can only imagine what those stories were like, but kind of lead us up before that. What was it like growing up for you, Dr. Rhonda?
Well, I was not an only child. So really I'm a military brat, actually. So both my parents were in the Air Force. But when my parents separated, my sister and I actually moved to New Orleans, and we lived with my grandmother for a number of years. And then eventually my sister moved back with my mom. I moved back with my mom for a little while. But then as I got older and my mom had to go to Korea, we went back to New Orleans, and I just stayed in New Orleans to finish high school and go on to college. And my sister was a little younger, so she went back with my mother. So, so we did a lot of back and forth, but I got to experience being a military kid, and then I got to experience being a kid growing up in New Orleans. And both of those lives kind of shaped me to who I am today. And so people always ask, well, your parents were in the Air Force. How did you end up in the Army? Well, the Army first.
Okay.
Yeah, so my plan was never to join the military. My plan was to actually go to college, become a lawyer, and just live my life. But while it just so happened that college got expensive, I went to Loyola University in New Orleans, which is a very expensive school. And even though my parents were in the Air Force, they also had another child they had to take care of, and my parents weren't together, so it was a bit expensive. So at first I thought I was going to sit out for a year and then maybe go back later, but it seems like God had different plans for me. So this Army recruiter called me. He found my name because I had taken the ASVAB, which is the entrance you take when you go to the military. I had taken it in high school. No plans on joining the Army. I just took it to get out of class for a couple hours. I ain't gonna lie.
You were like, yeah, I'll take it.
I'm like, I'll take the test. I never planned on joining the Army, but it just seems like this recruiter was going through his files. He ran across my name and I had a pretty good score. And so he asked me if I was still interested in joining the Army. And I was like, well, it's a good thing you called because I can't go back to college. So why not? I'll join the Army. So my plan was to join the Army, get the Army College Fund and the GI Bill. And I was going to leave after 5 years and then go back to college. Yeah. Well, that didn't exactly happen. So 3 years after I joined the Army, I wound up actually getting married and I had a child. Well, actually, I didn't have the child right away. I got married. We didn't have a child until 3 years later. So a couple years after I got married, I decided to stay in for a couple more years. And then I had the child. Unfortunately, my husband and I got divorced. So I was like, okay, well, I'm a single parent. I'm in the Army. I have a good job. I'm gonna finish college. And the first 5 years I was in the Army, I was working on my education. I was taking a class here, a class there, just so I can build up enough where once I paid off Loyola University, I can go back to school full time. Right. That was my plan the whole time.
Right.
And as I got older, and I had my daughter. And then I got sent to Afghanistan. When I went to Afghanistan, the money that I was making from my combat pay, I used that to pay off Loyola, and I paid off my student loans. So it wound up being a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing. It was a blessing. Yeah. Look at God.
Exactly. And so by the time I came back from Afghanistan, I said, okay, well, college is paid off. I can start going to school. Not so much full time because I still had a job, but I could start going to school and start working on this degree now.
Right.
And I actually, when I got stationed in Egypt, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but
was Egypt beautiful?
It was. Yeah. I mean, we were living in the desert basically, but I did get to do a lot of traveling. I mean, I got to go to different places in Egypt, like Cairo. I got to go to Israel. I was able to go to the Promised Land. I mean the whole holy city. I mean, I got to see a lot. I got to climb Mount Sinai, and I was done for when I got to go to Mount Sinai.
I bet you were.
Yes, it was a beautiful experience. But but I wound up finishing college. I started back on my degree, and I wound up finishing college when I moved back to the States. But then I decided to go for my master's degree. The military is paying for it. I didn't even touch my GI Bill yet. So the Army paid for my my education. So I finished my bachelor degree. I finished my master's degree. Still on the Army's dime. Then I said, I think I want a doctorate. By this time, I had been in the Army for quite some time. And my daughter was getting older, and she was so supportive because I'd be working on my paper, because when you're working on a doctorate, that's a 10-page paper every week. It's not easy. Yeah. Don't think just because it's online that it's going to be easy. It was not easy.
Yeah.
So, so sometimes she would come home and cook dinner because she knew I was working on my paper. But I still made sure I spent some time with her. We still got to see the country because we were living in Belgium at this time. It was just me living in Belgium. Yes. So, I was not about to spend my whole time in Belgium doing papers. I needed to get out and see
something.
Europe. Yeah. And we did. We got to see a lot of different countries. I loved my time there. And my daughter got to experience a lot. And sometimes she's like, remember when we were in Belgium? I miss Belgium. But she was ready to leave. She was younger, but now she misses it.
You know what? In all that you have said, I'm listening, and I'm hearing how you have fought hard.
Yes.
And you have pushed through. You have really just. I'm amazed. I knew that you had been in the military. I didn't know that you were in the military at the same time that you were going to college and achieving all of this. So I mean,
and I started my writing career while I was in the Army as well.
Okay. Okay. Very good. What was it that what was that pivotal moment, Dr. Rhonda? Just for all those people that are watching, and like you said, you didn't know you were going to do a lot of the things that you ended up doing. But I mean, look at you now, these choices and decisions that you made set you up for the life that you're living now. You're being able to not only, be vocal and express yourself through your writings, but you're making a difference in the lives of a lot of authors just by following your passion and just kind of going with the flow and just continually doing that hard work. What do you say to people that are second guessing themselves, and knowing how hard it was for you to do the military drills and all the stuff you probably had to go through, and being a single mom? What do you say?
And it's a dual-edged sword, because part of me has little patience for people who say they don't have time, or they're too busy to do this or that, because you make time for what you want.
There you go.
But I do think that you have to be built for that. And I'm built for multitasking. I'm always multitasking. And I always have a full schedule, but I've been doing it for so long that I'm used to it. Everybody's not used to that lifestyle. So I have to remind myself sometimes to have patience and give grace to some people who can't juggle the way I juggle. It doesn't make them less than a person.
Right.
It's just everybody's not built for that. So that's why I said sometimes it can be a dual-edged sword, because, part of you wants to say, well, if I can do it, you can do it. But everybody's not the same way. Everybody doesn't want to do 20 things at one time.
Right.
Everybody can't do 20 things at one time. And it doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make them lazy. And speaking of the lazy part, I read a Facebook post. I think it was a Facebook post that I read, and I truly, truly believe it, that sometimes you're not lazy, you're just overwhelmed.
Ooh,
and sometimes
that is
so
good.
much going on, and you're juggling so many things that when you finally have a moment to rest, you just want to rest. But something in the back of your mind is making you feel guilty because you're resting, because you just want to lay down beyond the gates. You don't feel like doing anything else. And it's okay. You don't have to spend every free moment of your life doing something. I say this all the time. Do not fear the white space. And what I mean by that, you look at your calendar and there's white space on your calendar, embrace that time. It means that's your time to rest. Don't feel like you have to fill it up. There's white space on my calendar. That means that I'm not doing anything. I'm not being productive. Let me hurry up and put something there. And next thing you know, you're overwhelmed and you're not putting your full all into everything that you need to be doing. And you're only happy doing things.
I want to acknowledge a couple of people that are watching, and it's so funny that you said that, because one of my friends that's watching is always telling me to rest and sit down somewhere. So I want to give a shout out to Miss Cynthia Ferguson and Miss Teresa Brown. And Miss Teresa is always telling me, you need to rest. She's like, you need to rest. And so for you to say that, I'm kind of like you, that schedule of mine and that calendar, it sometimes when I don't see something on it, I have to tell myself it's okay. And when I call myself going to take a day off, then I'll find myself, somebody will need to meet with me. And sometimes I'm just like, well, what if I don't have that meeting? And then boom, Well, I tell you what, you've got a lot of good things going on. You're making a difference. Tell us a little bit about, we kind of shifting from the Army side and the working side. Hello, Ricardo Miller, another one of my favorite people. Mr. Ricardo Miller is in the house. So let me give you an opportunity. Talk a little bit about what was it like being a journalist in the military. What was that experience like? Is that what started your writing? Kind of let me know.
Actually, I've been writing since I was 12, so I've always loved writing. And when I went to college, and at first I wanted to be a lawyer, I actually majored in English.
Okay.
So because I want to, I needed to get that foundation.
Yes.
And when I got ready to join the Army, I didn't even know that I could join the Army and be a journalist. So
Okay.
when that, and since I made good scores on my ASVAB, that
Okay.
opportunity came up. That's not offered to everybody. If your score is too low, they're not going to give you a journalism job because it's a
Definitely not.
writing is
Yeah.
not easy. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
But so writing has always been a part of my life. That's the reason why I said it's my first love. But one
Okay.
thing I loved about being an Army journalist is I got to learn a little bit about almost every job in the Army. And for a while, I was even an instructor. I taught at the very school that I went through my training at. In fact, right now, one of my coworkers was actually my student when she was in the military.
Wow. Okay.
I was talking with her the other day. She goes, Dr. Lawson, you were always so nice when you were Sergeant Lawson, and I learned so much from you. And that makes me feel good when I run into my former students and they tell me that. I had another soldier who worked for me. I didn't teach him in the schoolhouse, but he worked for me, and I was his first boss basically in the Army. And this young man, there were people who tried to write him off. If it was up to them, they would have kicked him out of the Army because he had a lot to learn. He was never a bad kid. He just had a lot to learn. And he made mistakes along the way. And there are some people out there who will try to write you off because they feel like you're not good enough. Well, this young man graduated from law school last week. And
whoa, hey, I love it. I love it. I love it.
The University Law School. And this is the same young man. If I had let my boss have his way, this young man would have out of the Army. They would have wrote him off, and he would have never become the person he is today if that man who was my boss had his way. And so I'm glad that he did not have his way, and that this young man continued to push. And throughout his life, he's always kept me posted on what he's doing throughout life. And so I was so happy for him. He invited me when he joined my brother fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma. He asked me to be there, and I was there. He didn't invite me to his doggone law school graduation, but I already told his big head self about that. But but the fact that he, like I said, he keeps me posted. If he's in the area, he makes sure to come see me because I think he appreciates the fact that I was there for him, and I was always that advocate for him. And he got to be that advocate for young soldiers when he became a leader. And that's the way we push it forward. So I love that.
I mean, you know what? That's what it's about. I truly believe that the Lord puts us in the right place at the right time to help people. To, a lot of times we can have went through something, and when we see someone else going through something similar, or the struggle, or we understand them, we can stand in the gap for them. And it sounds like that's what you did for that young man. Everything is not cookie cutter. Like we said earlier, everybody doesn't have it necessarily to push through every, dart that's thrown at them. But, when you have somebody to stand in the gap for you and kind of push you and encourage you, which sounds like what you're doing with the resources that you offer, it makes a difference. And I'm gonna tell you now, I'm gonna talk to somebody gonna meet me at the coffee shop, and we just gonna sit there and write and not talk.
There you go.
Listen,
I'm glad that you mentioned that about what I try to do with my resources.
Yes.
One thing I say a lot is that everybody has a story worth telling. And
yeah.
I remember when my daughter was in college, one day she called me. She wasn't crying. She was just kind of depressed, when you have those moments. And she said that her classmates told her that they didn't feel that she was Black enough because she didn't grow up in the hood, or she had never been harassed by the police. And I told her that just because you have been blessed in life does not make you any less a Black person or a Black woman than anybody else. and your blackness is not defined by struggle. And I tell people all
praise him. Can I say that out loud? I've been there before. It's
so
never
you
been
know
said,
exactly what I'm saying.
yeah, it's never been said that I wasn't per se black enough, but that I act white because I like to pronounce my words. Yeah, because I like to pronounce my words and I don't use Ebonics. So, you know, that is what I was told, is that I act white. And I'm thinking, if pronouncing my words correctly makes me white, then this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. We should all be pronouncing our words correctly, and it shouldn't be based on color.
Well, I was told when I was growing up that I talked funny, that I talked white, but you know, but if education is what makes you white, then whatever.
Yeah,
but
it's sad. Yeah,
I tell people all the time is that just because you don't have that struggle story, it does not mean that your story is not worth telling.
That's right.
Because you didn't grow up in the cookie cutter way. I remember when they said that the Cosby Show wasn't black enough. Black people don't live like that. Yeah. And you know, and that's a sad thing. Yeah. We are not a monolith. Everybody didn't grow up like on Good Times, like the Evans family on Good Times. There are some black kids out there who grew up just like the Cosbys. Does that make their story any less worth telling? Because they didn't have a so-called struggle story. So you don't have to make your story sound more exciting by throwing in a struggle that you probably didn't have. Tell your story because there's somebody else out there who is waiting to be inspired by what you have to say. So don't think you have to muddy it up and make it seem like, oh, we struggled and we did this. You know, your version of struggling may be totally different from somebody else.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of my mottos. Well, I'm going to get into one of them in just a moment, healing, empowerment, transformation. But as far as my publishing, my motto is there's power in your story. And like you said, it doesn't matter what your story is. There's somebody that needs to hear it. And so I love writing. Writing is my therapy, Dr. Rhonda. I've talked to so many writers, and I think like 99.9% of all the writers I have talked to, it's like, you know, and for me, I'm going to tell you, in all honesty, I stopped seeing my therapist when I started writing. When I started writing and being able to release it, you know, I have therapy sessions with my computer, and I sit here and talk, and my computer, types it up, and I turn it into a book. But I stopped paying $100 an hour to talk.
There you go. And I actually have a quote that I posted a while back that says writing can be free therapy.
Ooh, it is. It really is. It really is. Well, I have a super amazing question to ask you, and then I'm going to give you 3 words as we get ready to come to a close here. I have an amazing question that I want to ask you. I've heard you say that business owners definitely need a book.
Absolutely.
And I would like for you to speak to us and tell us, why do you say that business owners need a book?
Every business owner needs a book. And what this does is, 1, it establishes you as an expert in your industry.
True.
Stops people from picking your brain for free.
Wait a minute. Say that one again real loud. And wait, and then get mad.
Yes. And so think about it. One of the reasons why I create workbooks is because I got tired of people messaging me on DMing me on Facebook saying, how would you write this? Or what do you think about that? And so I took all of those questions that people were asking me, or things that I wanted people to know, because I've read too many books written by authors that were badly written. And there's nothing wrong with a typo here or there. I have a couple of typos in my book. I'm not worried about typos. But when the sentence is written so badly that you have to read it 3 times to figure out what the person's talking about, you might need some help. So there are people who don't want to sit in a writer's workshop. So I created a workbook called the Right to Win Writer's Workbook. and it's called The Perfect Workbook for Imperfect Writers. And I created that book because, one, like I said, I saw mistakes that people were making in the industry, and two, I saw that there were people who needed help because people were emailing me or messaging me and asking me for things. So I created this book and I sell the book. So you, as a business owner, whatever it is, you might be a plant mom and you're really good at that, and you've created a business on taking care of plants. Or maybe you are an artist and you want to teach people how to hone their skills. Whatever it is that you do, if you have a business and you know that people are asking you for things, trying to pick your brain for free, then put all of that information into a book, sell that book for $5, $10, $20 or what have you. Now you have created passive income for your business. That's the part. Now, it's when people start to pick your brain, you can tell them, I have a book. I just wrote a book on that. And it gives you all of the steps. Like, for instance, maybe you have a t-shirt business. So you have 10 steps to creating your own t-shirt business. Now somebody can buy that book and they can start their own t-shirt business. And you are not repeating the same thing over and over again, and you've monetized your knowledge.
There you go. I love it.
The part it's also a business card. Let's say you want to set yourself up as a speaker and you want to advertise yourself to be on podcasts like this one, or you want to be a keynote speaker at a conference. You can tell them that you have a book. So first of all, like I said, it sets you up as an expert in your industry, because now you have a book to back up all of the things that you're saying. And your speech is probably going to be 10 minutes long. Your book, it might take about 2 or 3 hours to read. So now you can expand on many of the things you couldn't expand on in your 10-minute speech.
There you go.
And what happens? Everybody loves your speech. Everybody's clapping. And then you tell them, I will be in the foyer and I'll be signing copies of my book.
There you go. I love it. You have gave a lot of good nuggets tonight. I want you to talk to us about the upcoming events that you have. I'm going to put your contact information up here again. Talk to us about the upcoming events that you have, and then I'm going to give you 3 words that I want you to choose from and tell us your thoughts on those. But I know you have an event coming up in June, and what else do you have coming up, ma'am?
Okay, so June 5th is the Books and Wine Pride Month edition. And so back in February, I hosted the Black History Month Literary Weekend. And we kicked off the first night at a winery in DC called Urban Grape DC. And it was a huge success. We had lots of authors there. We had lots of readers there. There were over 100 or so people who came through the winery that night. And since it was such a success, they asked me if I could curate another event for Pride Month. I was like, wow, okay, I'm not in that community, but I will definitely do it, because I wanted to do it, one, because I thought it was an honor that they made to come back. But the other part is that this is a community that they need to be able to have their spaces as well. And they need to be able to have a safe space where they can tell their stories. So I'm bringing 3 authors, and one of them actually happens to be my daughter, who just published her first poetry book. So I was very honored to be able to create a space for her and to create a platform for her to tell her story. So she's going to be there, and I have another young lady named Chanel Ramos, and then the third lady who's not in the community, but she's an advocate for the community, and she will be there as well, Pamela Coleman. The tickets for this event are totally free. There are going to be wine tastings, and you can meet the authors and get your book signed. It's going to be a really, really nice experience. So we're hoping to get as many book clubs out there and book readers and book lovers out there as possible. So that's June 5th. In July, I'll be at Indianapolis Black Expo, which will be taking place in late July. And then in August, I'll be in Atlanta for the National Black Book Conference. And I'll also be at another event in Philadelphia, the Independent Writers Festival, which will take place in later in August. And then we also have the Harlem Book Festival coming up. So there's a lot going on.
You're going to be busy. You are going to be busy. So you will need to take advantage of those white spaces on your calendar, ma'am.
Absolutely. I'm not scheduling another writing event between now and November. No more writing events. And in December, I'm chilling.
I got you. Well, I tell you what, it has been a pleasure having you on the platform tonight. Again, if you are watching this interview, her contact information is in the comment section. Regardless of what time you're watching the interview, you will be able to go to the comment section and reach out to Dr. Rhonda Lawson. We're going to leave on this note. I've got 3 words to give you. I want you to choose which word stands out the most to you and tell me why. So the words are healing, empowerment, and transformation.
Come on, I like those words. Okay, so let's see. Healing. Tell your story, because when you write, it's a healing process. Sometimes you may not want to actually voice the words to somebody, but when you write them down, it can be a very cathartic moment. So just write them down, and what that's going to do is it's going to empower you to tell your truth. To finally, and you don't have to ask anybody's permission. Sometimes you just need to tell your truth. And when you tell your truth, yes, you are going to start the healing process. It's not going to be easy. When you start to really strip down to tell your story, there are going to be some times where you just have to put the pen away and just decompress for a second. But when you get back on it, like I said, you will feel empowered, and you're going to want to continue to write. And then once you've done that, that's when the transformation happens. You go from feeling like the victim to feeling like the victor. You are not a victim anymore. You are a survivor. And because you've told your story and you found the bravery to tell your story, somebody else who is going through their own healing process is going to read their story, and they're going to feel empowered, and they're going to feel emboldened to tell their story or to live their truth because you told yours. And that's where the transformation happens.
I love the way you broke that down. That was amazing. If I didn't know any better, I think you had wrote that out. And I know you didn't, because you didn't know. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I may be seeing you in October. So looking forward to that. Seeing you in October at the National Book Festival, which is going to be in Houston. And that will be October the 23rd through the 25th. So thank you so much, Dr. Rhonda, for tuning in with us tonight. Thank you to all of you that have watched another amazing episode. We will be back on Thursday night. Make sure that you tune in and check Dr. Rhonda Lawson out. You have to check her out, see what she's got going on. She's went over several different outlets on how she can help you with marketing and promotion and things of that sort. So make sure to check her out. And that's it for the night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My brothers, it is your boy Joseph Roberts here, and I am inviting you to join me at the Men Hurt 2 conference being held here in Dallas on July 19th, 2025. We got an awesome lineup of speakers. There's going to be food, there's going to be music, there's going to be door prizes, just a host of activities that are going on exclusively designed and set up just for the men. We don't oftentimes have these safe spaces for us to chop it up and fellowship with one another. But on that day, July 19th here in Dallas, we are going to be doing just that. And to any ladies that are tuning in right now to this video, if you got some special men in your life, whether it's your husband, your son, your brother, your nephew, your grandson, I don't care who he is. If you know that he needs to be a part of something like this, get him registered too. Simply go to Eventbrite today to get yourself registered and get your ticket. Give somebody a ticket. We look forward to seeing you.